What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another Beta Memoirs. And the market is looking strong for the most part. We did get some selling towards the beginning of the morning, but we're still playing range. And something I've talked about in the weekly update is that the market in itself is essentially trying to fill itself out. We got FOMC minutes coming out on Wednesday, which is going to be important because it is gauging the inflation and how quick we're going to start raising rates. And from that point, you're going to see possibly a big correction in tech once that actually happens. But until then, what we currently have is we are setting up for earnings. A lot of different markets were closed today. You had some Asian markets, you had some markets, the Euro market, you had the Canadian market. They were all closed today. So being said, you didn't have the volume that you normally see. But also being said, we should be able to see where we are going tomorrow. The good thing is we didn't continue to sell. We're still holding range. I don't think the FOMC minutes are really going to do much aside from give a little bit more insight on inflation. But ultimately, I think we are solid going in towards the end of the week. I think the bigger push will come towards the end of the week. Tesla had monster numbers over the weekend, and it had a huge rip, opened up about 80 points from Friday. So being said, where do we got going into tomorrow? Tomorrow, we might get a little bit of the same chop. We've seen strength in Tesla and in Apple. Amazon did show brief strength today as well. A couple different stocks showed brief strength when it comes to the big FANG stocks. But ultimately, what matters is there's been strength in a lot of different things. BA was big today. The banks did really good today. So I'm kind of really looking for a rotation tomorrow in some of the laggers going into tomorrow, especially with the FOMC. I think some of your bigger tech stocks, like possibly your Apple or your Tesla, they might slow down a little bit tomorrow. They may gap up overnight, but ultimately I'm thinking is that what will happen is we are going to see a massive push in all industries coming very soon, coming into the new year. People know rate raises are coming. That's already been advertised. It's just when it actually takes place is when I think we're going to get a correction and how big that rate increase is going to be on the first correction. So again, the FOMC minutes will play a big part in that. Also, we have to keep an eye on jobless claims as well. That will have impact on the market going forward until we get that first rate raise. And then once we have that, then we'll correct a little bit more from that point. But when we want to talk about Bitcoin, Bitcoin's been struggling a lot. I do believe it's going to be a strong year for crypto in general. Again, as far as Bitcoin is concerned, it is still holding. We could still drop all the way down to 43 mark, and I think we would still be very bullish. It's just everything is setting up. Again, inflation. This has essentially been the inflation protection against inflation coming in, and that's why we've had a big rips up this year or last year, I should say. So going into this year, I think it's the meeting on Wednesday could possibly pump this right back up, get this right back on track. Also, that next Fed meeting will kind of give us a feeler as to when they are looking to start doing rate raises, and that's what's really going to be important. And again, I think another driver for Bitcoin, especially if inflation, because they're talking about inflation should kind of damper towards the end of Q1 this year. So we want to, it all kind of plays into that March time period. So after earnings, you're going to start looking at, well, has inflation gone down? If it hasn't, I think that could be a big catalyst for Bitcoin to start really ripping up at that point. And again, all the other inflation gauges that we have until that point. So as far as tomorrow, obviously I want to continue to watch Tesla. the deliveries on Tesla were just ridiculous. Over 300K deliveries. Being said, continue to watch this to go up. Look for any overnight catalysts and news that could possibly even push us up even higher. Give you a strong possibility. Tesla is in that range. Normally, Tesla is really solid and pushes hard around this essentially earnings around the January, February, March time period for the Q4, essentially Q4. And so from that point, I think Tesla will really do well. But then after that point, it starts to die off. And then Tesla really doesn't do much between March and essentially fall. Tesla will have some spikes here and there, but its biggest moves typically come again around this Q4 earnings, and also again towards the end of the year around that fall time period when you start getting into Q3 as well. So earnings. But Tesla's a big one I want to watch. Apple's had a lot of strength today. I want to see if this continues tomorrow. Something I want to watch, especially because it is a leader, and right now we really want to go with leaders. I definitely don't want this to break back down below that essentially 181 mark. As long as it can hold this as support, which was old resistance, is now new support. So I want to see how we bounce off of this tomorrow. Google has got some work to do. It's kind of struggling back and forth here, but when it comes into the earnings, I think Google will do really well, just as long as it holds the zone. So you really don't want it to break this 2880 mark. Is kind of what I'm looking at, essentially holding that 50-day EMA. It did attempt to break it today, but then pop right back in it. And so we definitely want this to hold back in. It'd be great if it did pop back over the 2911 mark. Kind of watching it for the break back over the 20 on the daily for me to get back in it. Again, starting to look at some other plays aside from FANG, because this new year, I think value might be bigger than some tech, just depending on when the rate raises start really pushing. So looking at your Airbnbs, your Roblox. Roblox is one I've really been watching, kind of hoping it does come back down to the 94 mark, pick it up there. It did hold and bounce here, but it does look like it's getting ready to sell overnight. UPST is another big one I'm watching. I'm actually currently in this position. I want to see this one. This one's actually sitting on nice base here on the monthly. I'm looking for a big pop in this tomorrow, possibly go up and retest the 20 tomorrow. But what we ultimately want is this to break the 20 and start heading back up. Again, phenomenal company. It has great earnings, great potential. Even Berkshire Hathaway is partnered with them as well. So you do have that backing as well. So I want to really see how this does play out going into tomorrow. Lucid is another one that I think is really interesting. On the daily, it looks really good. As long as we can hold this 40 mark and do a retest of the 40 tomorrow, I think Lucid could possibly start ripping up as well. And I know a lot of the China stocks kind of fell off after that big pump last week. So kind of staying away from those. Again, there's going to be news that goes on and off that's pumping China stocks, so I don't typically play them much. BA had a monster day today. If it can hold the 207 mark tomorrow, hopefully get that 20 support on the hourly and get this to possibly move back up a little higher to the next pivot. If we do look on the daily here, so we do want it to hold this 207. If it does, we could potentially get another pivot move up to the 212 and then up to possibly 217. So BA might be a good continuation play. BA does have a lot of fake outs. That's why I don't like to play it. So as long as that the opening candle is above the 207 and holds that, I think we should be really rock solid with BA tomorrow. Chips have been really strong. I do really like NVIDIA for tomorrow, as long as it does hold that 299 mark, and AMD as well. But if it does hold, it looks like we broke and retest. If we can hold that tomorrow, I think we can get a nice pop in NVIDIA tomorrow. AMD, same thing. As long as we can hold this 145 mark, I think we could push up and make some make another big push when the chips, especially going in earnings. I think they're going to crush earnings. There's been multiple comments about how they're catching up on demand, and so with the mass demand for chips in this new this new tech revolution that we've had, and blockchain and everything that's going on, chips are much needed. So I think they will do great for this next earnings. But this video is kind of short. We're kind of just waiting to see how the market does overnight and waiting on Wednesday to see what the impact of that. But if you have made it this far, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.